On the 10th of May 1940, 8 months after the outbreak of the Second World War, Nazi Germany launched an invasion into Belgium. German forces rapidly advanced through the Ardennes region, bypassing the Maginot Line and overwhelming Belgian defenses with swift and ruthless tactics. In response to the dire situation, King Leopold III surrendered the Belgian army on the 28th of May and soon found himself confined under house arrest. Following this, Nazi troops commenced their occupation of the country and progressively enforced new regulations that deprived Belgian Jews of their rights, isolating them from the broader population. Deportations to concentration and extermination camps began in the summer of 1942. By the end of the conflict, approximately 25,000 Belgian Jews were sent to Auschwitz, where the majority were tragically killed. Among those who actively supported and collaborated with the Nazis was a young and charismatic Belgian fascist who not only embraced Hitler's ideology, but also volunteered to fight alongside Nazi forces on the Eastern Front. Over time, he gained notoriety as the most infamous collaborator in Belgium's history and was even praised by Hitler himself. His name was Léon Dorsey. Léon Joseph Marie Ignace Dorsey was born on the 15th of June 1906 in Bouillon, a town in Belgium. He was raised in a French-speaking Catholic family within the southern Belgian region known as Wallonia. The Dorsey household was deeply religious, and as a child, Léon attended Mass daily. His early education took place at a preschool managed by the Sisters of Christian Doctrine from Nancy. During the 1920s, he continued to mature within this devout atmosphere. While attending the University of Leuven, he became deeply involved in journalism and developed a keen interest in public matters. By the age of 24, he took control of a Catholic publishing firm named Christus Rex, which translates to Christ the King. Under his guidance, the company began producing magazines, novels, and pamphlets centered around religion and contemporary issues. As the political situation in Europe became increasingly unstable, Léon Dorsey steered the organization toward a more political role, and by the early 1930s, Christus Rex had evolved into a radical right-wing Catholic movement known simply as Rex. At approximately the same period, in March of 1932, Léon Dorsey married Mary Lawson, the daughter of a French industrialist, and together they had 5 children. Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party seized power in Germany in January of 1933. Meanwhile, in Belgium, Rex continued expanding its influence. Initially, Rex functioned within the Catholic Union, one of Belgium's prominent political parties. However, Léon Dorsey soon confronted the party leadership, accusing them of corruption and weakness. Toward the end of 1935, Rex separated and became an independent movement. Although the Rexists lacked comprehensive policies, they presented themselves as protectors of Catholic principles, national unity, and loyalty to the Belgian monarchy. Léon Dorsey, with his dynamic, self-assured, and passionate oratory, rapidly became the movement's leading figure. During the national elections of 1936, Rex astonished the nation by securing more than 11% of the popular vote. This initial triumph brought Léon Dorsey into the national spotlight and motivated the movement to grow further. Local chapters were set up throughout Belgium, with Rex presenting itself as a staunch adversary of communism. However, their momentum soon faded. In October of the same year, inspired by Italian fascist leader Benito Mussolini's March on Rome in 1922, Léon Dorsey organized a march on Brussels to showcase the movement's power. Despite this, the event had been officially prohibited, and only a small number of followers were willing to take the risk and join. The weak attendance turned the occasion into a public disappointment and made Rex appear disorganized and disconnected from the public mood. Léon Dorsey's admiration for authoritarian regimes abroad also raised alarm. In 1936, he visited fascist Italy and Nazi Germany, meeting with high-ranking officials and even Adolf Hitler. Though publicly denying any financial backing, Léon Dorsey accepted funds from both Rome and Berlin. These ties further fueled suspicions that Rex was heavily influenced by foreign powers. The following year, Léon Dorsey ran for office in Brussels against Prime Minister Paul Vincent, but was defeated. This loss marked the end of Rex's political rise. As the 1930s came to a close, Rex quickly shifted into a fascist organization that increasingly incorporated anti-Semitic language in its publications. The Second World War began on the 1st of September 1939 with Nazi Germany's invasion of Poland. In the months that followed, Leon Dorsey shifted the responsibility for the conflict away from Hitler, instead pointing to France and the United Kingdom, whom he accused of creating circumstances that he believed forced Germany to invade its neighboring countries. He also held Jews and Freemasons responsible, convinced they were plotting to manipulate European powers into undermining Germany. On the 10th of May 1940, as German forces entered Belgium and the Netherlands, Belgian authorities detained Dorsey along with other individuals suspected of supporting the Nazis. Following the swift German occupation of Belgium, Dorsey was freed in July 1940. He promptly began restructuring the Rexist movement and aimed to establish himself as the primary leader in a potential Belgian regime collaborating with the Nazis. Dorsey was confident he would be called to Berlin and appointed to lead a Nazi-aligned Belgian government. Yet his hopes were soon dismissed. The German occupiers decided to govern Belgium directly, choosing to depend on various local collaborators rather than granting power to Dorsey. Despite this, Dorsey continued efforts to bring Rex into closer cooperation with Nazi Germany. His rhetoric grew more intensely anti-Semitic, and by the end of 1940, members of the Rexist movement had already started committing violent attacks against Jewish people. In early 1941, Dorsey openly announced Rex's complete backing of the German war effort and Hitler's vision for a new Europe. For the very first time, he even concluded one of his speeches by saying Heil Hitler. This stance shocked many Belgians. Rex began to appear less as a nationalist organization and more like an extremist group blindly following Nazi control. In the spring of 1941, Leon Dorsey suggested forming Rexist military units to fight alongside Nazi Germany. Yet this proposal failed to gain support. By that period, Dorsey's power in occupied Belgium was already diminishing. On Sunday, the 22nd of June 1941, Nazi Germany launched Operation Barbarossa, invading the Soviet Union. For Dorsey, this was a long-awaited opportunity to prove his allegiance to Nazi Germany and boost his political influence. He suggested creating a multilingual Belgian unit to participate in the conflict, but the Germans dismissed the plan. Instead, they established a French-speaking Walloon Legion under German army control. Because the Nazis regarded the Walloons as inferior to the Dutch-speaking Flemish population, volunteers from Wallonia and Flanders were placed in separate units, and Walloon soldiers were restricted to regular armed forces only. In July 1941, Dorsey declared he would personally enlist, aiming to motivate others to join as well. The Legion, mainly composed of Rexist followers, was sent to Germany for training before deployment to the Eastern Front. Dorsey attempted to present it as a patriotic brigade, but the unit remained completely under German command. By the beginning of 1942, it had already suffered significant casualties. Soon, Dorsey developed a strong belief that the SS, the elite paramilitary group under the direction of Heinrich Himmler, rather than the conventional military, a more influential opportunity emerged. Leon Dorsey began consulting with high-ranking SS officers and claimed that the Walloons had Germanic ancestry, insisting they were rightful members of Hitler's envisioned Europe. In May of 1943, Dorsey met Himmler to ask for the Walloon Legion to be incorporated into the Waffen-SS, the SS military division. His appeal was approved, and by June of the same year, the Legion was renamed SS Sturmbrigade Wallonien. Throughout the latter part of 1943, Dorsey focused on amassing wealth for himself and his family by acquiring assets confiscated from murdered Jewish people in Belgium and France. He bought a perfume company previously owned by Jews and started a newspaper titled L'Avenir, which quickly gained financial success. In July, he showed up to Mass in his hometown wearing his SS uniform, but was refused the sacraments. In response, he caused the local priest to be arrested and confined in his own residence. This led to his excommunication by the Bishop of Namur in August 1943. Although Dorsey succeeded in having this decision reversed via the SS chaplaincy. In November that year, Dorsey returned to fight at the Eastern Front with his legion. By January 1944, the unit found itself trapped by the Red Army during the Battle of the Korsun-Cherkasy Pocket near the Dnieper River in modern-day Ukraine. The unit suffered catastrophic losses, shrinking from 2,000 men to just 632. Among those killed was Lucian Lippert, the commanding officer, while Dorsey himself sustained injuries. He was elevated to the rank of SS Sturmbannführer, comparable to Major, and transported to Berlin, where he became known as the symbol of all European collaborators. In February of 1944, soon after receiving the Knight's Cross, Hitler reportedly told Léon Dorsey, "If I had a son, I would have wished him to be like you." On the 8th of July, 1944, Dorsey's brother Edward, who supported the German occupation but was not involved with Rex, was shot dead in his pharmacy. In retaliation, German forces detained 46 men, and Rexist militants killed another pharmacist. On the 10th of July, Dorsey returned from a speaking engagement and called for retaliation. He even sent a letter to Himmler asking for the execution of 100 Belgian civilians, but this request was ignored. Still on the 21st of July, Rexists linked to the SD, the SS, and Nazi Party's intelligence agency murdered 3 hostages near Bouillon. The Second World War in Europe concluded on the 8th of May, 1945. Dorsey was condemned to death by Belgian courts for high treason. He succeeded in fleeing to Spain, which was under the control of the right-wing authoritarian regime led by Francisco Franco. However, his wife Mary Lawson did not accompany him. Their marriage had worsened during the war because Dorsey had mistresses in Brussels and Paris. Lawson also betrayed him and had an open relationship with an officer of the German Air Force, the Luftwaffe. In March of 1943, Lawson ended this affair and informed Dorsey of her decision. The following month, the officer who was reluctant to end the relationship was discovered with fatal gunshot wounds to the head and chest near Léon Dorsey's residence. In Spain, Léon Dorsey continued to live in comfort, having gained wealth through a construction business that contributed to building American air bases in Spain, and he kept using his original name. The regime under Franco was supportive of Axis allies, and numerous Nazi war criminals and collaborators sought refuge there after the Second World War. In 1954, Léon Dorsey was granted Spanish citizenship, which gave him legal immunity against extradition and legal actions. As early as 1949, Léon Dorsey started publishing books and giving interviews where he admired the Nazis and rejected the truth of the Holocaust. He was often mentioned in French and Belgian media and played a significant role in the post-war revival of fascist ideologies. Léon Dorsey openly associated with other Nazi refugees such as Otto Skorzeny, and in 1969, he wore his SS uniform to his daughter's wedding, an event that received widespread coverage in the Spanish news. In 1979, before Pope John Paul II's visit to the Auschwitz camp, Dorsey wrote an open letter to the Pope denying that any organized killings had occurred at Auschwitz. He argued instead that the true genocide was represented by the American atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, as well as the Allied bombings of Hamburg and Dresden. In the July to August edition of 1985, the Spanish magazine Tiempo featured an interview with Léon Dorsey, where he reiterated his denial of the Holocaust. He alleged that Josef Mengele, the SS officer assigned to Auschwitz, had been nothing more than a regular physician and insisted that gas chambers were never present at the camp. Léon Dorsey, who many regard as a key figure inspiring modern neo-Nazis, passed away at the age of 87 in Malaga on the 31st of March, 1994. The Belgian authorities prohibited the return of his remains to his homeland. Thank you for watching the World History Channel. Make sure to like, subscribe, and activate the notification bell so you will not miss our upcoming episodes. We appreciate your support and look forward to seeing you again on the channel.